Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared, my lovely wife Kara's busy, and today I wanted to do just a quick little knife talk about a graph that I'm kind of going over in my mind about knives, and I'll get into it. So let me know down in the comments if you do end up watching this video and watch it through and you kind of follow along with what I'm talking about, and let me know what your impression is about this, or you'll see. I'll get to the question, but if you don't mind, let me know what you guys think. So, you're going to notice my hand's covered, or I got a little wound on my hand. If you guys did not see the live, in the live video, I did cut my hand pretty bad on the new Rockstead Higo. I bumped my hand right there, and this thing is sharp. And not a big deal. Me and the Rockstead are obviously getting to know each other, and you know, we're getting along just fine. I feel like our relationship is even better than it was. Anyways, let's get into this. So I got a piece of paper and pen here to explain what I'm talking about. So what I'm talking about is, I feel like when I think about a knife, now there's a couple ways to think about it, but if we go over the main four things, I feel like, other than the other details that all knives can have, so like good heat treat, good hardware, fit and finish, materials, anything on this graph can have that as well. But if we make a pie graph, and I know it's a bad circle, but let me do it down. So if we make a pie graph here, and we make a circle, and we say up here is strength, okay? S for strength. Over here, E for ergos, like this. Then down here, we'll say this is action. Over here, cutting performance. Okay, put a dot in the middle. Now, the best thing you could ask for would be a straight pie, where each one gets 25%, right? That would be the most ideal knife you could imagine. But that's not usually the case. Normally, that's not the way it goes. Normally, the way it really goes in reality is that with more cutting performance, so like say if that would be perfect, you know, if these lines went all the way across, that would be perfect. Most likely it's going to be like, say if the cutting performance increases, and say, so if I make more cutting performance here, I'm going to lose out on strength. So say if this side right here now is strength, now I'm also probably going to lose out on ergos. Why? Well, the thinner the blade stock is, this is the Wee Kite Fin. This was the Demco 8020. So the Wee Kite Fin has amazing blade geometry, amazing cutting performance, but with that it has a thinner blade stock, so it's not going to be as strong as, say, this Demco 8020 with a nice thick blade stock that's super duper strong. Well, with strength usually comes better ergos, you know, because the blade stock is thicker, the handles are thicker, and I know there's lots of variables, but you know, usually that's the way it works. And then the thinner and slicier a blade is, usually the thinner, you know, the handle could be. Now, I know there's variables, we'll get into that in a moment, but so if you add yourself some cutting performance, you're probably going to lose a little strength, and then you're probably going to lose the ergos too. So now, instead of having 20 or 25 and 25%, you probably have 20 and 20%. And then the action can be good regardless, right? The action sometimes gets, you know, like, so like say the heavier a blade is, obviously sometimes the more drop shutty it gets, but not always, you know, the action thing can kind of be here or there. But sometimes when you ask for incredible strength, you are asking for a little less better action. Like say the triad lock. The triad lock isn't going to be, say, as fidgety as, say, the Mannix. Do you know what I mean? Or like say the Medford Praetorian Genesis, you know. you're not going to get the same speed of action as you're going to get out of something like that. But either way, if you look at the cutting, strength, and ergos, where are you willing to lose a little to gain in other areas? Or what are you willing to add to lose in other areas? So if we go back, strength, ergos, action, cutting performance. Like say if we lose a little bit in cutting performance and add a little strength, we'll possibly get... I'm messing that up. A little bit more, or a great ergos. So we'll probably keep about 25% ergos. We'll gain strength, lose a little bit of cutting. So I feel like there's kind of a happy medium spot. Now let's look at this. Now you can say if you use like a hollow grind, right? With a hollow grind, you can say, okay, I'm going to lose a little tiny bit of strength by having a hollow. But that way, I'll still keep the majority of my strength, but and increase my cutting performance. But that still takes a little bit of strength away. So I know deep down, like a lot of people are like, man, I'm not willing to give up any strength. Strength is like what's most important. But is it really? Is it really? Now, I agree that strength is very, 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 very important. But if it doesn't cut, it doesn't matter, right? So, and I'm not saying that something with incredible strength can't cut. But what I'm saying is that when you choose to grab the knife you're going to grab and you have a bunch of cutting to do, you're going to grab what cuts good. You're not going to be thinking about strength in some ways. Obviously everybody wants a strong knife, but sometimes these little tiny variables aren't going to weaken you too much. Basically what I'm saying is, like, say the difference in strength. So like, let's look at this. Put it this way. Let's just do this. Let's make a pie for the Medford Praetorian Genesis. Here's a pie. What do you think that pie looks like? I'm guessing it looks something like this. This is all strength. There's its ergos. There's its action. And there's its cutting performance. Or here's probably cutting performance, action, and ergos. That's what this knife looks like. Now, you're probably not going to grab this knife to go cut your cardboard up, even though it's incredibly strong. Do you know what I mean? Now, a lot of times you would gain ergos, and like I said, there are always variables when you increase your strength, but not always, right? So, if we were going to make, say, let's make this one right here. So this one's going to, I haven't reviewed this yet, but I know a lot of people have seen it, so we're just going to make a graph for it, period. Strength, ergos, action, cutting. So the strength is definitely going to be better than the cutting performance. So let's say the cutting performance is here. This is the center. Here is, because the action's really good on this. So the only thing you're losing with this is some cutting performance. And it still cuts good. But you have more strength and better ergos than the cutting. The ergos on this particular knife increases the cutting performance. Why? Because when you can grip something and get a full hand grip, even if the knife doesn't have the best blade geometry, it will feel like you're getting better cutting performance because you have leverage, right? So say something very tiny, right? So like this. Let's say this little Civivi McKenna. This thing has amazing blade geometry. But getting a grip on this is not going to be nowhere near as doing a grip on this. So this might feel better to cut with than this. Now, one slice, yeah, this is going to be great, but I'm talking about over and over and over, and it depends on what you're cutting. Same thing with like the weak hyphen. This thing's amazing, an amazing cutter, and I don't mind breaking down boxes with this, but this is going to be more comfortable in the hand to break up boxes. Now, my question to you guys is where are you willing to lose or gain on this graph? And does action mean more to you than anything? And this is like a personal preference thing. I know everybody wants a four-way split. Everybody wants 25, 25, and 25. But you can't always get that. So, if you had to take some out and put it somewhere else, what does your ideal pie look like? Obviously, like I said, I know four-way split is ideal, but that's not always the best case scenario. So my best ideal is lose a little bit of strength, keep the same amount of ergos and the action. Because if I only lose a little bit of strength, then my ergos is pretty much going to stay the same, but my cutting performance is going to go up because one, I have good geometry, and two, I have good ergos. So my strength is I'm only lost about 5% of my strength. So I think that's my ideal graph. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be my everything. I'm just saying that, sometimes when I look at a knife, I think about the graph. Now, obviously, I can look at a knife and see a graph that looks way off of my perfect, say even if it was a four-way graph, like if it was just a complete four-way split, and I seen a knife that was all one, and everything else was left in this little tiny area right here, I could still love it. So I'm not saying that you can't love knives that aren't the ideal graph. I'm just asking, what does your ideal graph look like? What is the most important part to you? What are you willing to give up a little bit of? And what are you willing to gain some, to lose in another area? I just thought this was a quick, cool little topic to think about. I know it doesn't necessarily always have to be this way, and I know it's just goofiness, but, I don't know. Think about it. Peace.